I'm Caroline Miller. I'm the host for Just Read It. This is a Pacific Northwest book talk show where local writers chew up, discuss, review works of best-selling authors out of the New York Times review list. And today I have two wonderful writers, Nancy Townsley and Bill Kenower, right?
Well done. Well done.
Get it right, Bill? Okay.
Yes.
You know, sometimes where the emphasis goes is not always clear.
That's
Anyway,
right.
These are two wonderful local writers, and we're here today to discuss The Way of the Bear by Anne Hillerman. This is I think the eighth in a long series of books about Joe Leaphorn, Jim Chee, and Bernadette Manolito, who are Navajo Indian detectives, sleuths, and this is her latest novel. And Bill and Nancy are going to check it out with me. But first, I want to get to know my guests a little better. So, Nancy, let's start with you. You have a book that's written, contract about to be signed. Tell us a little bit about your book and your title and your story.
Oh, thanks, Caroline. Yeah, that's correct. So the book is tentatively titled Sunshine Girl. It's a novel, and I call it a journalist activist book. It basically tells the story of the evolution of print journalism. I worked in newspapers my whole career, from Nixon to Biden. So over about a 50-year period, the story is told through the lens of a multi-generational family, and lots of twists and turns. And yes, I have the good fortune of being in contract negotiations with a small indie press in New York City called Heliotrope Books. So I'm looking forward to that very much.
Now, refresh me. This is a saga that takes place over time. How would you categorize it? As a mystery or history or?
Oh no, I think I would call it kind of a hybrid. It definitely is a fictionalized version of quite a bit of what I observed over the years as a newspaper journalist. It's kind of a commercially paced, but also literary fiction. So it kind of crosses genres, I think, which is one of the Heliotrope's claims to fame. They really enjoy the little bit of an offbeat, not quite, check all the boxes type of a book. So, yeah.
Are you still working in journalism or?
No. I retired in 2017, although kind of a little bit of a caveat there. I still do copy editing for the newspaper group that I worked for more than 30 years, but very, very little and kind of on my own time. So it's a great time in my life. I have time for other things. So I like that.
And as a writer, it's hard to drop the pen, isn't it?
Yeah. What has been fascinating for me is going from writing clearly nonfiction, just the facts type thing, all my career, to writing fiction. That was something I really wanted to try my hand at. And I feel really good that I've been able to do it. So I didn't know.
Congratulations. Right.
Thank you.
Finishing a novel is no mean feat. All right. Well, now Bill has a book too, and he has a podcast, and he's very active in at least the Portland Community Writers Circle. Let's get a little bit about your
nationwide. Book. Nationwide. I am involved nationwide with the writing community. Absolutely. Coast to coast.
All right. Interstellar, maybe even.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I'm going to check. All right, Bill, tell us a little bit about your book, your involvement in the writing community.
Yeah, so you see back behind me a couple of the books. My most recent is Everyone Has What It Takes, A Writer's Guide to the End of Self-Doubt. The one I got perhaps best well known for is Fearless Writing. And I also have a collection of essays called Write Within Yourself. And as the title suggests, my work is with writing and creative people, but my emphasis, my interest, my passion is the psychological challenges of writing and how what it takes to write a book is what it takes to lead a life. The two things are one and the same. And so the podcast, actually two podcasts, my interview podcast for you viewers who just like to read and love listening to writers talk about the books is called Author to Author. And Caroline, I believe you and I are going to be having one of those conversations here in the near future.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's why I talk to writers about the books and just about writing in general. But a new podcast I have is called Fearless Writing with Bill Knauer, where I give you a little dose of inspiration, perspective on the emotional, psychological, spiritual challenges of writing. That's what I'm most interested in. That's when I coach people, teach people, give talks to people. It's about that. Now, you can do it. Don't be afraid. You got it. You can do it. You can do it. My job, I love it. My job is just to say, it's all right. It's all right. You're going to be able to do this. And I have made a career of doing that, and I love it.
Bill, you remind me of a story when I began taking a watercolor class, and I kept staring at the thing and afraid to touch it and put anything on it. And finally, the teacher came up and whispered behind. She said, "It's only a piece of paper."
That's good.
So you're right.
That's good advice. That's good advice indeed. So yeah,
it's only a page.
That's right.
So, well, and because writing is such a solitary work, a cheerleader doesn't hurt,
No, it doesn't. And I love talking to writers about the challenges of making stuff up, facing a blank page and saying, what do I think, what would amuse me? What would inspire me? I think it takes courage. And I think sometimes people don't underestimate how challenging it can be just to say, what is it I actually care about? Not what will please other people, but what will entertain me? What is the story I most want to tell? It's a profound question, and I am never not interested in how people deal with it.
All right. Well, let's see how Anne Hellerman dealt with it in the book, The Way of the Bear. Now, this is, as I say, actually a long, I think this is her 8th book in the series, and she's got 3 well-known characters, Joe Leaphorn, Jim Chee, and characters she's developed of late called Bernadette Manolito, who is now recently married to Jim Chee. And this story is about it's about she's on vacation. Bernalito is, she's tagging with her husband. She's just had she was turned down for promotion as a detective. And so she tags along with her husband, who's on a vacation type thing. All he has to do is go into this place on the reservation and pick up a generous check from an archaeologist who wants to support the police department. But when he gets there, of course, there's a dead body outside the building, and the man with the check is disappeared. So with that sort of background, Bill, since you just had your voice on the screen, give us a little more about the book and maybe what you thought about. Get us started. What did you think about it? But finish the plot for me a little bit.
I'm sorry, who did you ask?
Bill.
Yes, me. Okay. Well, all right. I don't want to give away too much. This is a mystery after all. But I guess I want to start with a question to both of you. Were you familiar with Anne Hellerman's work before reading this? Because I was not.
Go ahead, Nancy, answer that one.
Yeah. So I was not as an author, as Anne Hellerman, the author, but coincidentally, my husband and I had just kind of stumbled on Dark Winds on Netflix.
Oh, yes.
It's now there's a TV series that is patterned after Tony, I don't know if it's Tony Hillerman or Ann Hillerman's work. I don't know how long ago Tony, I believe he's passed away now, but so and then you asked me, Caroline, to be on this particular show and read this particular book. And I have to admit, my first thought was, oh, well, mysteries aren't necessarily my cup of tea, but I would like to do this. And Dark Winds is really intriguing. And so, yeah, and you were right. It reads like an axe through butter. I mean, I think that was your phrase. And yeah, it was, I really liked a lot of things about this book, and now it makes me, I know she's at work on another one, so I'll probably pick that one up when it comes along.
Yeah, for background to the audience as well, she picked up her father's very popular series, and Robert Redford did the first. This is the second television series Robert Redford has done. He picked up the first, and then when he died, people kept wanting to know about these characters that they loved so much, and she thought, do I dare, do I dare? And she did dare with great success. If you have read the entire series from starting with father to daughter, you will see a slight shift. Bernadette is an addition, which brings in the female point of view, because in this book, Bernadette suddenly gets a message that her mother is suffering from Alzheimer's. It's the middle of a snowstorm, and she's trying to get out and then gets caught up in this murder mystery. So that's a little bit more of the background. Bill, did anything I said about the background of this book help you at all understand the progression?
It was pretty understandable for just reading it, quite frankly. This was to me, a very, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, a pretty standard issue procedural crime book. It is done the way all the kinds of books of that sort I've read. It succeeds in its basic job of giving you a mystery that I wasn't able to really put together until the end. I also thought she did some interesting stuff because that's the nature of genre fiction. It is a little bit formulaic. It's okay. That's the nature of it. Again, it's not a slight to genre fiction, but that is the nature of it. And I thought she did a good job of mixing it up without giving away too much. You have a character who doesn't recognize people's faces. That's an interesting psychological limitation. She deals a lot with archaeology. She really kind of gets into it. And I thought that was interesting from a sort of intellectual learning something about the world of archaeology. But from a narrative standpoint, one of the things I liked about it, now this is my writerly self, is that she had a snowstorm. And she did this thing with the snowstorm, which I thought was pretty cool. Whether she understood what she was doing or not, I don't know, but it worked, which is that she introduces this story is told in a very compact couple days. I think it's only like 2 days. I was kind of surprised. And she introduces that the snowstorm is coming, and everybody's talking about it throughout. And then, of course, when it hits in force, I don't think I'm giving anything away that it does hit. That's when the action really hits in force also. So that was a nice sort of like, there's all the actions of the people, but above them all is that which they can't control, the coming storm, and it descends. So I thought that was really effective too. So there was some cool stuff she did. And of course, having the Navajo officers, although that's something that they've been doing, that's part of the series. But overall, I thought pretty effective. And if you like crime fiction, I think you'll enjoy this one.
And how about you, Nancy? What's your take on what Bill just said?
Yeah, I'm happy to piggyback on that regarding the weather. I felt like the weather was so dominant in the plot and so interesting that it was almost like another character. I really enjoyed that. I've spent a little bit of time in that neck of the woods, Bears Ears, and I think Bernie and Chi were a little south of that is where they lived. And I could feel it. I could feel, the kind of high desert, the cliffs, the cold. I really liked that aspect of the book. And I guess as a journalist, I tend to pick up on, you know, the smaller details too. And I thought it was very interesting the way, maybe she does this in all her novels, but she brings in the actual Navajo language. It was I liked kind of flipping back and forth from the glossary to the pages and learning a few of those words. Not that I've retained them, but it was interesting to learn them. And the other thing that I thought was great is that she didn't shy away from some of the more contemporary issues regarding, you know, where we've just been through a pandemic. You know, people even talking about Alzheimer's is a lot more prevalent now than it was even 10 years ago. I really thought that was good. The plot was, for me, very fast paced, kept you guessing, as Bill indicated, till the very end. And, you know, not to give anything away either, but the way that the author wrapped it up was pretty cool. And the last chapter was just a great big sigh of, oh, that's so great. I'm glad that happened. So.
Well, since both of you are not followers of the series, and you certainly don't have to be listening to the Bill and you talk, it's not a series that you have to know the background of the characters, but the landscape, the Indian lore was her father's. That was big for him, and she picked that up and carried it forward. One of the things that I liked with what you said, Nancy, because I wrote a review of the book, and I compared the landscape as a character too in the book, in the way of Red Badge of Courage, or, you know, it is a presence, but also what you picked up on, which her father did not do. His characters were characters driven by the circumstance. But with Bernadette Manolito, we have a more family-oriented viewpoint that's been injected. A daughter dealing with a mother who has Alzheimer's, and the strain that puts on her career and her marriage even, and her aspirations. It's a dimension I don't think her father would have even imagined. So she's made, in my humble opinion, quite a contribution to the series by expanding these characters and making them more than just detectives. Bill, what did you make anything of this mother-daughter kind of thing, or what did that strike you as incidental to the plot?
You know, my experience of that is my experience with almost all crime fiction when they introduce stuff that is not related to the crime. It is a challenge because the momentum of the story is the crime and who did it. And as a reader, I am propelled by that. And then the stuff with the mother really stops the momentum of that story. And they weren't really connected. I mean, they're on Bernie's mind, but the storyline of the mother does not really, except that it's a thing that she's thinking about, drive out. Now, I should say, in Anne Hillerman's defense, if I were a reader of the series, I suspect my response to that might have been different, because I had no history with the mother, no history with anybody. I'm starting from scratch. But it did, to me, it towards the end especially, I was just, get me back to the murder mystery, get me back to why they got, because that was where the huge momentum was, and the pacing of the conversations with the mom were very different. So that's a challenge, but that's a challenge that I think all crime fiction has, because the natural momentum of whodunit is really strong, and the tempo of relationship things is different. And I think it's a real balance and a challenge that they all face as they try to bring in both elements and not make it just pure grinding details and facts and long conversations about where were you at that time and so on. So I thought it was okay, successful, but not the best version of that I've read. I'm sorry, Anne, if you see this. It's not always
easy. See it, I'm sure. But I think it's a light tap on the wrist. Because you're raising, Bill and Nancy, you may want to comment on this. you're raising, as writers, the plot-driven book and the character-driven book. And if you want to try to do both, it's difficult. But Nancy, do you have any comments to make on what Bill reflected on?
Yeah, I guess I would applaud Anne for, first of all, you indicated, Caroline, that in her father's books they were pretty male character heavy. I guess that's what you said, and she's brought in a strong female voice in Bernadette, and I felt like she did a pretty admirable job of balancing the subplot of the mother and the sister, the mother maybe needing more attention versus Bernie wanting to do her job. She's very devoted to, both her family and the job. And that is such a, that's what women face in life. It feels like, the balance. If you have a family, I thought that her mother's upbringing of her, there were a few little snippets in the book about what the things her mother used to say to her that gave Bernie a bigger dimension, a better dimension, gave her, just a lot of the impetus for what she was doing in and around crime scenes. And I thought that she and Chi were very yin yang in that way, where Chi might be more careful and methodical. Bernie's intuitive and brave. Bravery was a theme there. So I enjoyed it. I did.
Well, okay. I'm going to ask you, Bill. I want to maybe comment and have both of you maybe remark on this. When you're picking up a series from somebody who's already famous, it's quite an act of courage to begin to tinker. And this injection of a sort of a woman's dilemma. In fact, she gives birth during the snowstorm to a woman stranded on the highway, so it's all, it is a risk. Nancy, is it a risk you would take if you were, would you stick to the formula or would you want to tinker?
Oh gosh, I can't even even fathom, since I'm, other than journalism, I'm my first foray into writing fiction is the book that I had mentioned at the beginning of your program. So I guess my personal desire would always be to tinker, figure it out, see if it works, throw the spaghetti against the wall and see what happens. But I'm sensing that Anne Hillerman was probably quite a bit more thoughtful than that in the way that she structured this book. But I do like that she brought in contemporary themes, and including miscarriage. So, and I won't say more because I don't want to.
Okay, well, courage is the artist's stock and trade, you would say.
Yeah.
Bill, how about you? Do you agree?
Yeah, the question I think was, would I pick up a series someone else?
That's the first question, right?
Right, and the answer to that is no, 100 times no. I would never do that. However, it is done, and I think Anne is doing the right thing, which is she's making it her own. I think if you're going to do it, if you're going to do that, then you've got to say, okay, here are these characters, just like this. My friends who are screenwriters who write for television or whatever, they go in and they bring their voice. She's got to bring her voice, because I am a firm believer we all have our own genius. We've all got our own unique view, even though she's probably, she's the apple fell from the tree and she probably has things similar to her father. She's her own person. So she's got to bring her own thing. And it sounds like the introduction of all the female characters that were not as prevalent in her father's books, that's obviously her, introduction. And I think my guess is the books are better for it. So no, I wouldn't do it. I would never pick up someone else's series. But if a gun were to my head, I would do it the way Anne's doing it, and I would make it my own, whatever that is.
Well, we need to close, so the final verdict for you, Bill, is it's a thumbs up?
It's a thumbs up. Yeah. If you like crime fiction, you will like it. If you're not sold on crime fiction, I wouldn't go towards it. This is for people who are fans of the genre, in my opinion.
Okay, Nancy, how about you? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up. I feel a little bit like Siskel and Ebert, but yeah, especially as someone who hasn't trended toward crime fiction, I liked it, and I told my husband, I said, if you like Dark Winds, you should read this.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, now we're going to close, and not regretfully, because it's been a lively discussion. As you're on the screen, Nancy, again, tell us your book and a little bit about it. Again, the title.
Oh, thank you. Working title is Sunshine Girl, and there are reasons for that will become clear in the book. Likely publication in spring 2025.
Oh, okay.
I'm learning a lot just about the ways of the world of publishing, and the agony and the ecstasy of submitting something that feels like your whole heart. And I know millions of writers have done it. I'm just happy to be in there. But I think that a contemporary tale about what has happened in this crazy upside down world of fake news and enemies of the people and all of that is timely. So
I sound timely. All right. All right. And Bill, again, your 2 books. I'm sorry.
That's right.
Do.
We got Everyone Has What It Takes, A Writer's Guide to the End of Self-Doubt, fearless writing, both for creative people and people I am told who don't write, love it too. So, if you ever thought you wanted to write, and the podcast is Fearless Writing with Bill Kenower, check it out. Drops every Friday, little 5 to 7 minute dose of encouragement from yours truly.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both for this lively discussion. You've been great guests, very insightful. So if our readers don't know now whether they're interested in the book, they've had earplugs on the entire program. I want to thank you both for this wonderful time together. Wish you both well in your endeavors, and take a moment, if I may, to point out to my audience that I have a book out, a short memoir, Getting Lost to Find Home, and it is out on all the usual places. So please look it up, and please also consider subscribing. You see what great guests we have, and we don't sell your names, and there's no advertising, but we only publish 6 times a year. So you don't want to miss any of this with Nancy and I want to call him William. I'm so formal. Bill. So come back, subscribe, and come back. And till next time, thank you for joining us for Just Read It.
thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.